Welcome to this audio version of our awareness forums, as together we explore the vision that God is outlining for us here at St. Paul. We're centering around the theme of connecting Christ with community. And as you saw on the video, we're encouraging you and all of our members to simply say yes to this vision that God has for us. You'll be hearing my voice, you'll be seeing me once in a while, you'll be seeing some of the slides that I would show if you were actually able to be present for the video. We want to encourage you, if you have any questions after you've witnessed this video, to contact us personally, to send us an email, to give us a call, and we'd be glad to answer any questions that you have. We began with this encouragement that the task ahead of us is not greater than the power that's behind us. God is with us, God is behind us, God is calling and compelling us to pursue this vision to the glory of His name and for the building of His kingdom. And He is greater than any problem, any obstacle that we may face in carrying it out. In order to explore this vision, we're going to be asking ourselves 5 basic questions. And the very first question is probably the most fundamental. It's the reason that you're listening to me and watching this video. And that is simply, what are we trying to do? What do we want to become? What would we look like in 5 years? Pastor, what are we going to do? Well, before I answer that question, I want you to pay careful attention to this slide. It talks about a present and then a predictable future. We know who we are today. We know how we do ministry. We know when we do it. We have traditional worship at Saturday at 5 o'clock. 8:15 is a combination and a blending of mostly traditional with a little bit of contemporary. 10:45 is contemporary. We know we have Sunday school at the same time. We know how we do Sunday school. We know the materials that we use for Sunday school. We do the same things day in and day out. If we don't change anything, if everything stays the same, we know what we'll look like 5 years from now. We'll look exactly like we look today. Albert Einstein is given credit for the saying that doing the same thing but expecting different results is the definition of insanity. If we keep doing the same things, we keep getting the same results. So what if we don't want that predictable future? What if we don't want to look exactly the same 5 years from now as we do today? What if there's a preferred future? A different future, a future that God can see, a future in which God would be doing different things, greater things. How would we get there? Well, we'd have to go in a different direction. And that different direction we're going to call change. And I know that change is embraced by some of us and it's feared by some of us. But if God is calling us to change who we are, what we do, how we do it, when we do it, then God will be with us in that change. And if God is with us, if God is for us, we have nothing to fear at all. So we want to connect Jesus Christ with our community. And in order to do that, we need you to say yes. If you're not familiar with how we're using that word, it's on the slide that you're seeing now. The Y stands for youth. We want to reach out to the young people in our community, and we want to offer them a youth center, and I'll be talking more about that in just a second. The E stands for early childhood. The dream that God has given to us of coming alongside children from birth to age 5 and helping them to grow, to mature in a healthy, vibrant way so that when they're ready to enter into kindergarten, they are emotionally, spiritually, and physically ready to do so. One of the 2 S's stands for our school. Our school is growing and it needs room to expand. It needs room to provide new opportunities like a full science lab, like an art room, like some place to do worship and music. But right now it's stuck in the modulars. And in 2 years, the city of Aurora says, we have to be out of those modulars. So we need to provide room for our school to expand. We need to give it a permanent home somewhere on this campus. And the final S stands for senior daycare. Reaching out to those seniors who perhaps need someplace to go during the day, but they don't need to be in a nursing home. They don't need yet to be in assisted living. They just need somewhere to go during the day, maybe while the kids are going to work. And after work, the kids can pick them up, take them home, and they can stay in their house and they can eat at their table. But during the day, for safety, for oversight of their medications, for greater social interaction with others their own age, we could provide a senior daycare. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how did we come up with these 4 priorities? And why would these 4 priorities be the vision that God has laid before us? I'll give you a brief explanation. Very shortly after we bought the old Cub Food Building, Jack Meyer, as head of our strategic planning committee, and I began to go around the city of Aurora, and we interviewed many of its leaders. We interviewed the mayor's office and the mayor himself. We interviewed the director of the Park District, the director of Aurora Township. We interviewed the school superintendents of 129 and 131. We spoke to the Aurora Development Council. We spoke to leaders in the African American community, and we spoke to leaders in the Hispanic community and many others. We asked them many questions, but everyone got asked the same 3 questions. Number 1, what are the greatest needs that are facing the community of Aurora right now? Number 2, of those needs that you just identified, which, if any, are underfunded or under-resourced? If something was going very well, if that need was being addressed in a powerful and effective way, we saw no need to try to duplicate that ministry or that service. We wanted to turn our attention, our resources, to those that were underfunded, that were under-resourced. And the 3rd question that we asked everyone was the one I asked you a few weeks ago in the sermon. If we gave the building to you, what would you do with it? In every interview we had, youth were discussed. There are some very wonderful ministries in Aurora to youth already, but overall there is a sense that the young people in our community are in crisis, that many of them feel trapped by poverty and they feel that there is no future. There's no reason to dream about going to college. I'm not going to college anyway. There's no real reason to fantasize that I might create my own company or I might climb the corporate ladder. I don't have much of a future. So why study hard in school? Why go to class? Why not hang around after school with the wrong kids? They're my future. They're my life. They are what's going to matter to me. And they're making the wrong decisions, and we need to come alongside them and help them make the right ones. Everywhere we went, there was talk of helping the little ones in our community. Poverty is a serious issue in Aurora, and it bleeds out over all aspects of life. And so many children are coming to kindergarten unprepared. They're not prepared nutritionally, they're not prepared emotionally, they're not prepared physically nor spiritually. And that has serious consequences for the rest of their life. Can we, cooperating with the community, reach out and try to better prepare these little ones to enter into life? We already know our school's issues, and we know its need for expansion. And finally, there are many wonderful senior opportunities and senior services in Aurora, and they are doing a wonderful job. But one area came up time and time and time again. What if my father was struggling with some form of dementia? It's in its early stages. He doesn't need to be in a nursing home yet. But I'm not really comfortable going off to work and leaving him at home all by himself. I'm not sure he'll take the right medications at the right time. I'm not very comfortable having him prepare his own lunch and be around the stove. It would be wonderful if when I went to work I could drop him off and he could be with other seniors and he could engage in activities and some field trips and some fun. He could watch his Cubs in the afternoon. At the end of the day, I pick him up, we go home, and Dad and I, we have dinner at my table. And at night, he goes to bed in my house. And he who took care of me, now I have a chance to take care of him. But I need that daytime daycare facility. That's what's lacking in Aurora, and that is what we're being challenged to provide for those who are in need. So we need you to say yes. We want to come alongside the youth and help them plan and develop a preferred godly future. We want amongst the early childhood children that they could have a right relationship with God, know God, and trust God from the very early beginning stages of their life. Our school has the incredible God-given opportunity to take today's learner and make them into tomorrow's leader. And with our senior daycare, it's time that we took care of those who used to take care of us. And it's also time that we come alongside those who are giving the care. We come alongside their children who are building careers and going to work and paying mortgages and living out stressful lives while trying to care for their parents. We help them care for their parents, and we care for them as well. And we need you to say yes to this incredible vision. Short term, what are we going to do with the building? We have some ideas. One thing is, we might take the old bank and the pharmacy that was in the old Cub Food building and remodel them into a coffee house where we could have small group Bible studies, we could have intimate gatherings, we could have small gatherings for meetings or other purposes. We've thought that perhaps we could designate certain times of the week for certain parts of the population. Would there be a night that would just be for high school kids? Would there be another night that would just be for kids in college? How about a night for mom and dad where we would provide babysitting and you can come into the coffee house with other adults, listen to some great music, have a cup of coffee, carry on some conversation, then pick up the kids and go home. It's a great opportunity for a smaller, more intimate ministry environment. Our youth ministry has already created its own worship environment called Light Up Your World. They've been doing that in a warehouse, but now with the Cub Food building, they'll move that worship service into the Cub Food building. They've been reaching about 100 children, young adults, for every worship environment, but now given a more permanent setting, one that they're very excited about. Who knows what the possibilities are, but we are reaching young adults in a way that hasn't been possible in the past. We've been thinking about how do we reach 18 to 30-year-olds. Think about the worship service that you attend. In your mind, look around the congregation and ask yourself, how many young adults, 18 to 30, do you see worshiping with us on a regular basis? And sadly, not that many. But maybe that's because how we do ministry, how we conduct worship, is not what they're looking for. It's not what they want. It's not meeting their needs. So much like starting a youth service for 14 to 18-year-olds, we're giving serious consideration. Do we need to start yet another worship environment for 18 to 30-year-olds? And could we do that in the old Cub Food building? We call it Revolution because we want them to realize that God wants to bring about a revolution in their life, transforming them from sinner to saint, from lost to found. We want them to see the power of the gospel in their life. These are just a few of the possibilities that we might do short term while we develop our ministry over many years. The slide that you're seeing now is the heart and the soul of what our vision is. It's complicated and it's complex. And you may want to watch this video more than once, or come to one of our live presentations, or you may want to come on that first Sunday in March to the question and answer session and simply say, I didn't get it. And we'll do our best to help explain it to you. You see 3 boxes. We want each of those boxes to represent a building. There's our current campus. Right now I'm standing in the sanctuary. This is the campus that we have known for many years. There's also a box that represents the Cub Food building, the building next door to us that we bought last summer. You'll notice a third box that's in between the current building and the Cub Food building. That third building isn't there. But it's part of our vision and our dream that we would build that third building between the existing building and the Cub Food building. In this current structure, we're going to propose to you that we put our day school. We would remodel the current building, giving the school 13 classrooms, along with opportunities for art and a science lab and a computer lab. We would try to give them as much as we could so that they can grow and expand and reach more and more children. We think we can expand and remodel this current structure for about $1.5 million. But ultimately, you and I, in a voters' assembly, will make those kind of decisions. We are raising money right now to make the school as our permanent place here. Now you may be asking, why here and why not in the Cub Food building? We're proposing to put the school into the current structure to bring about separation between the school and some of the other ministries that we want to conduct. Currently, our Celebrate Recovery ministry, for example, which meets every Friday night, is doing an incredible job of bringing the good news of Jesus Christ to people that are struggling in life. A few of those people have made some bad decisions. A few of them have broken the law. While we want to bring Jesus Christ and the good news to everyone, while we want the love and the grace and the mercy of God to flow into the heart and reach out and bring salvation to everyone, we must also protect and keep safe our school children, and we must ensure their parents that they will be safe. So while we minister to some people who've made some bad choices, we try to guarantee that safety by distance. One ministry in one building, the other ministry in the other building, and the two don't mix. If we go to the far side, the box that says the Cub Food building, that's where we want to put our early childhood program. Now we're working with District 129 to see if we can't remodel the entire building into an early childhood program. Now that might take us years to do, and it's just in the planning stages now, but it's an exciting vision. Imagine that we're in a collaborative relationship with School District 129, Aurora West, and in that Cub Food building, there are 900 children every day from birth to the age of 5. And we are working with them before school, we are working with them after school, we are working with them in the evenings, we are working with them on the weekends, and we are sharing the Lord Jesus Christ with those children, we are sharing Him with their parents, and we are helping them to grow spiritually, while District 129 is helping them to grow from a physical and an emotional perspective. And together, we are working to prepare these children to enter into the educational world. What would it be like to have 900 children a day on our campus? You'll notice down there, there's some big and some scary numbers. $5 to $10 million. We don't know what it would cost to remodel the entire building into an early childhood center. That range of money are some estimates that some architects have given to us. Here's what you need to know. Whatever expense we incur to remodel the building, for whatever ministry goes in there, the building must pay for those expenses. If we cooperate with District 129 and they take the entire building and we have to put $7 or $8 million into the building, then the lease payments that they make us will cover our mortgage payment. If we spend less, then the lease payment will be less. But whatever we spend will be covered by what we charge. You'll notice at the bottom it says lease and rent, and there's a little arrow that goes over. There are several scenarios that we've talked about where the lease payment would actually exceed the mortgage payment. It's possible that the Cub Food building becomes a revenue-generating possibility. It generates more money than we spend, and we take that excess money and we use it to help pay off the third building that we would need to build. We have solved our school issue. We have solved our early childhood issue. We still have youth and seniors to go. And if we have remodeled the sanctuary into classrooms, we don't have anywhere to worship. So the third building becomes our sanctuary. Our third building becomes our youth center, and our third building becomes our senior center. And now we have youth and early childhood, school and seniors all resolved in 3 buildings. You'll notice under the middle building it talks about $3 million. I need to tell you right now that we need to raise a minimum of $1.5 million in our current campaign. We would love to raise more, and we need to raise more. That's the floor, $1.5 million. But I also need to tell you that when this campaign is over, we're going to roll right over into a second one. It is the intent of the leadership of the congregation that we will be having a campaign for 6 years in a row. And the minimum that we need to raise over the next 6 years is $3 million. That's why that's on that slide. It's an amazing possibility. We could spend $1.5 million, $3 million, and $10 million. We could spend $14.5 million to accomplish this dream. We don't know if we will, but it's a possibility. But the plan is designed to say, as a congregation, we have 2 campaigns and raise a minimum of $3 million, hopefully much more. And then the lease payment from the Cub Food building pays the rest of the mortgage. So we raise 3, the Cub Food building raises lease payments, we spend $14.5 million, and at the end of the day, not a single dime comes out of our operating expenses towards a mortgage payment. Can it happen? With God, all things are possible. How do we pay down the debt? That slide's just a brief reminder of what I just explained. Campaign number 1, a minimum of $1.5 million. Campaign number 2, a minimum of $1.5 million. And then everything else we spend is paid for by rent, by lease, by grant, or by donation. Which leads us to question 2. How or what challenges might create limitations? What are the obstacles in our way? What would prevent us from doing this? And I need you to listen very carefully. Because the first and the foremost obstacle we face is a lack of faith. I'm going to assume some of you watching this video right about now are wondering, what in the world is Pastor Tutwiler thinking? How could we spend $14 million? God has everything we need. If we follow God, if we obey God, He will provide everything we need. We need to believe in Him. We need to trust Him. The greatest obstacle we face is that we don't believe He can, and we don't believe He will. Another obstacle that's on that screen is a lack of equal sacrificial giving. Every one of us needs to make an equal sacrifice. We don't donate equal amounts of money, but we all give sacrificially. We don't give what we can afford. We don't give what works in our budgets. We don't give what fits into our vacation plans. We give sacrificially to God. But that may mean that one of us gives $100,000 and one of us gives $1. The widow's mite was a great sacrifice. The $100,000 could be a great sacrifice. For this vision to become reality, every one of us must agree to make an equal sacrificial gift. It's also noted on there that we have a lack of time and talent. This isn't just about money. We need everyone to donate their time, to be available, to get involved, to step up. We need people to give us their talent and their skills and their abilities. And right now, we don't have that as organized as we need it to be. So we've brought Don Phelps onto our staff to help us better organize that, better focus that, to match who you are with the needs that God has. We also have on there a lack of collaborative partnerships. It's never been our assumption that St. Paul would do this alone. We will need other partners in the community. We will need other partners in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. And we know that others will come alongside of us, and together we will get this done. And we are working on those collaborative partnerships. But at the bottom of the slide, you'll notice that when it's talking about our obstacles and our limitations, it says, but it is not money. This vision will become reality if God empowers us and we believe. And God has all the money He needs. And God can provide all the resources we need. This will succeed or this will fail based on our faith, not based upon money. So question 3, how will we overcome these limitations? How will we overcome these obstacles? If this is the problem, what are we going to do? First and foremost, we're going to take this spiritual journey called connecting Christ with community. I need to encourage you to be in church every Sunday to make this journey with us. I need you to be in Bible class in March. We'll be having special Bible classes where we want to bring you along with the Word of God and see the vision that God has for us. Take this journey with us. Make the commitment to equal sacrifice. Don't expect somebody else to do this. Don't expect somebody else to give to this. Don't expect somebody else to step up. You prayerfully decide what is the sacrifice that God is asking you to make. When Don is going to be talking to us in March and in April about assimilation, about time and talent, about who God is calling you to be and how God has gifted you, how God has equipped you, I'm going to need you to be involved. I'm going to need you to participate. And I'm going to need you to step up with your time and your talent, not just your treasure. We are working on collaborative partnerships. Jack Meyer and I are out there every week working with various agencies in our community, various leaders in our community, various corporate leaders, seeing who can partner with us and who can come alongside and work with us. We're working on outside funding. It says there lease and rental income. There's a group in our church that's meeting every week to see what leasing possibilities there are. We right now have 2 individuals in our congregation. We have Walt Dewey and we have Maddie Heinisch, both who wonderfully, sacrificially agreed to go back to college and to take classes on how to write grants. And even as I'm videotaping this for you, they are beginning to go after the very first grant that's being offered by Wheat Ridge. I don't know if we'll get it, but we never have a chance if we don't apply. And these 2 wonderful people have learned, they've grown, and they're going to jump in now and apply for the first one. And we'll see where God leads us with that. And then we're out there after private and corporate donations. Again, Jack Meyer and I have gone out and already met with several corporate leaders and asked them to make donations. Now, quite honestly, so far, they said no. But the world didn't end. They didn't throw us out of their office. They were nice, respectful, polite. They simply said no. So we'll keep asking, and we'll keep asking, and we'll keep asking, in the hope and in the prayer that God will lead us to that right person, to that right company who will say, that's a great idea. We'd love to get behind it. And who knows what they might be willing to share. So question 4 on your screen, who do we need to go with us? Who are these partners that we need to cooperate with us in order to make this vision a reality? And please note who is number 1, and that is simply each other. I need your help. You need mine. And we need the help of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who are part of the St. Paul family. I can't do this alone. Neither can you. But you and I, with God, we can get this done. It is time for each and every one of us to come together around this vision. We've been divided long enough as a congregation. There were some of us that were downtown at the Benton site, and there were some of us that were out here on the west side at the Orchard site. There are some of us that like traditional liturgical worship, and there are some of us that like contemporary worship. Some of us love the school, and some of us thought we should emphasize other ministries. There are so many things that divide us. Now it's time to come together. It's time to stop all this divisive conversation. We've heard people say to us, if you don't do this for the school, I won't give you any money. We've had people say, if you only do for the school, I won't give you any money. No, we come together. We are one body of Christ. We are one people. We are one family. And we try to move everybody forward. We try to advance as much of the ministry as quickly as we can, not moving some ahead and asking others to lag behind. We all move together as one to accomplish this great gift that God is giving to us. On the list there, it lists a great many other organizations in town. Let me use one illustration off of there, and that is the Aurora Township. We met with Christine Campos, who's the director of Aurora Township, and she shared with us that the township runs athletic leagues geared especially for those who live below the poverty level, because the Park District programs are expensive and they can't participate. So the township runs soccer and basketball leagues and other opportunities at a much, much, much reduced price. Now, you don't get the fancy uniform and you don't get to play with brand new basketballs or brand new soccer balls every year, but you still get to play. She has more children who want to be in these programs than she does places for them to participate. She needs soccer fields. She needs basketball courts. So when Jack Meyer and I met with her, we thought to ourselves, well, we have a soccer field and we have a gym that's not used every day. Why couldn't they use our soccer fields? Why couldn't they use our basketball courts? This is an incredible opportunity to connect Christ with community, bringing children onto our campus where we have a chance then to share the Lord Jesus Christ with them. That's what we could do to help her ministry to these young people. Christine said she owns, or the township owns, school buses. Now, when we were talking about our youth center, one of the obstacles to our youth center was getting the young people to the youth center, especially those who don't have cars or those who are living below the poverty level, can't afford to get on a bus. How would they get here and take advantage of that ministry? Christine has an answer for us. We let her use our grass and our gym. She lets us use her buses, and she's willing to go pick up those young people after school and bring them to our youth center. We don't charge her anything. She doesn't charge us anything. We collaboratively come together. We help her minister to the community. She helps us minister to the community. This is a great and a wonderful opportunity to come together to meet the needs of the kids in our area. So the last question is, how will we identify the potential fundraising resources? How are we going to find all the money that we need? Where is God going to direct us? And so there you see again about Maddie and Walt and the pursuit of grants. You see there again Jack Meyer and myself going out and looking for corporate and private individuals, the strategic planning team that is working on lease agreements, and again the Finance Commission that's working with the Lutheran Church Extension Fund. That's the banker. If we need to borrow money, that's where we'll go to borrow money. But now let me share one last challenge with you. Some fiscal information, as the slide says. What if we don't raise $1 million? What if we only raise $802,000? You need to know that the leadership has no plan and no idea right now what we'll do if we don't reach our goals. We will have to go back to the drawing board and we'll have to rethink everything because we're not planning on failure. We're planning on God bringing us everything we need. But if He wants to put that challenge before us, then we'll step up and face it. We just want you to know, if we only raise so much money and that doesn't come to $1 million, we'll have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what now. I said a few minutes ago, we all need to go together. Leave nobody behind. We're not divided anymore. We are one people, one congregation, working one plan to move everything forward. And so we want you to know that we've come up with a plan that we hope can do that. And that's what you see on that slide. When we raise that first $1 million, 80% of that will fund the school expansion. 20% of that will go to fund our youth, early childhood, and senior daycare realities. The school has a deadline. It has to be out of the modulars. And so it gets 80% of the first $1 million, but it doesn't get everything. We don't put all of our eggs in that basket. We make sure that we continue to move those other ministries forward, just not as dramatically. From $1 million to $1.5 million, we flip-flop that reality. And now the school gets 20% of that money, and the other three ministries get 80%. Above $1.5 million, could we raise 2? Could we raise $2.5 million? The more money we raise, the leadership wants to put forward for your consideration. Should we begin to think about debt retirement? Should we begin to pay down that debt quicker and faster? So the suggestion for you to prayerfully consider is everything above $1.5 million, now 60% of that would go to debt retirement. 20% would go to the school. And 20% would go to youth, early childhood, and seniors. Out of this distribution, nobody gets everything they want. But at the same time, every ministry gets something. Every ministry gets to dream. Every ministry begins to start. They get to implement programs. They don't have to wait 3 years to start. They don't have to wait for a future campaign. They get to begin all at the same time, all trying to reach as many people for Christ. Children, school-age children, young people, and seniors. They all need Christ, and they all need Christ now. So what does that look like? Well, this is the last slide I have there for you. If we raise $1 million, of course, the school gets $800,000, and the other ministries get $200,000. If we raise $1.5 million, then the school gets $900,000, and the other ministries get $600,000. At $2 million, the school gets $1 million. Youth, early childhood, and seniors, they would get $700,000. And we would pay the remaining $300,000 down on our debt. Now, lest you feel that we're cheating youth and early childhood and seniors, they have opportunity to receive corporate money. They have opportunity to receive grants. There's outside funding that can flow to a youth center that won't flow to a private parochial school. So that's why we've made the school the greatest priority in this first campaign. They don't get it all. Everybody gets something. But these other ministries could receive a corporate grant, whereas the school is not likely to do so. We move forward. We impact lives. We do great things and miraculous things for God. Hopefully we've answered some of your questions. Maybe we've raised some others. Give it your most prayerful meditation and thought. And I'm asking you, say yes.